one of those trade recaps where like you took an L trade, don't want to look at it, don't even want to do anything about it, but it's just like one of those trades where you're gonna have to review and like it's a trade recap, I guess. I'm just gonna go through my thought process of what I was doing and why I even took these trades. So I took 2 trades, I took 2 L's. One was for like around 300. It's not gonna show you though, right? Took 2 trades. One was a buy, the other one was a sell. Eventually, we both got hit stop loss. Boom, boom, failed twice. So we were risking around like 200 per trade, or 300 something per trade, 350 around there. And let's just go to executions. So this is the 1 minute. So this was the first trade. We took a buy, and then you see we got stopped out. Second trade, we took a sell, and you can see we got stopped out. I'm gonna go through my original bias of what I was watching and what I was looking for. Right, so yeah, let's turn this off real quick. Let's go to like the higher time from perspective, and we just simply. We go in here. So on the weekly time frame, we're in a weekly SIBI. On the daily, we have a BISI, of course, right here. It's getting respected. You can see we tapped up into it, bounced off of it. On the 4H, on the 4 hour, we have this little range or that bearish order block there. But either way, we completed the market maker sell model. We're retracing back up. We have the 4 hour high. We have the high and low. We're inside of this candle's range right here. But if we go to the 2H, this is kind of where it looks a little differently. This is kind of where I was trying to take my trade based off of, which was the 2 hour. So we had the 2 hour SIBI, and that kind of was a confluence for us to use that weekly SIBI as a means to push us lower back into this daily BISI. And then we also had 2 hour CRT. We were sweeping, we closed below. Looks like this third candle was going to open up, move down lower, and target the third or the first candle right here, or the CRT low, and then eventually the external objective. It's kind of what I was initially looking for. And then on the 15, this is where the first trade idea came into place. On the 15-minute time frame, we had basically 15-minute CRT right here. This is kind of where I was looking at. Okay, we swept the low, open up, third candle right here. We're looking for what to target this high. And then on the 3-minute, this is kind of where my first trade idea was coming into place. But I should have just took it off of the 3-minute inversion right here and targeting these highs, or this one too. But I eventually waited. I waited, and then on the 1 minute, I was like, all right, hold on. All right, and then I waited basically, and I scaled up to the 2 minute. And I was like, all right, hold on. We have a 2-minute breaker. We have a 2-minute fair value gap right there. And what does this look like? A unicorn model to then target these highs up here. And that was the 4 hour external objective. It just didn't work out there. So, and I can see the reasoning why. All right, so then we entered, and you can see eventually the market came back down all the way to my stop loss objective, which was like around here, the projection block lows. This was the trade idea right here, this right here, and we were aiming for all the way up here. So it was like a nice 1 to 2, and you can see it just didn't play out, which is totally reasonable. And then we flipped the bias. I was like, all right, hold on, this wasn't me, this isn't my bias. We got back up to the 15. I'm like, all right, that wasn't me, and then eventually I went and I saw this forming. Saw another CRT performing, but then I realized we have 2 CRTs forming. Let's go to the 30-minute. We went to the 30-minute. We're like, all right, hold on, boom. We see this form, and then I didn't wait for this. It was too late. I entered off of the 15, which is pretty naive of me, honestly. I should have waited for the 30-minute, but we entered off of the 15. We waited, and we got impulsive. I won't lie. I did get impulsive, and I entered off of a 1-minute SIBI, which it wasn't ideal at all, in my opinion. So as soon as we formed the SIBI, we came back down, and I entered. We should have waited for that 30-minute CRT right here. If not, then the 15-minute 30 candle confirmation. We were entering off of advanced CRT here, which isn't the case, which in this case, honestly, we should have probably waited for an inversion to confirm the CRT, instead of just entering off of the sell side imbalance, sweeping these lows, and respecting this buy side imbalance. Sweeping the lows, respecting the buy side imbalance, pushes up higher. It just wasn't ideal, especially with the market chopping. I think after this first trade, we should have been out. But for me, I needed to continue going. I feel like I needed to take back my win or my loss. I needed to make back my loss, which in this case scenario, it was an emotional second trade, and we could have clearly entered off of the 2-minute inversion here, or this 1-minute inversion. I guess you don't really count this fair value gap, but right there, you could have waited for this, entered off of that, and then eventually rode the market down. The 2 hour, everything was nice. It was lining up perfectly for shorts. It just wasn't really the right timing, honestly, especially with how the market was moving during during the macro, 950 to 1010. Sloppy price delivery back and forth. I mean, you could have probably caught the 3-minute inversion. That's kind of the main trade idea, was a 3-minute inversion, riding it up to the highs, eventually calling it a day there. But again, I was looking mainly for shorts. That was my main bias until we flipped and we formed the breaker with the unicorn model presented. But we were still inside of that 2 hour sell side imbalance. So in this scenario, honestly, I just wanted the market to come back down, target the daily buy side imbalance once more, and then eventually start to move up higher. But in this case scenario, it just did not happen. And the week has been a little bit more sloppy, especially with London moving down so much. You don't expect expecting New York to move as much. Second trade idea, we could have probably waited for an inversion instead of simply entering off of the sell side imbalance. Especially even after like rejecting the lows, that should have been our sign. Cut the trade if we're unable to break, but we waited for the stop loss to be hit. We did have patience. We were managing the trade really well. At times, I was up. I could have moved the stops to break even. I could have trimmed something. And we did also have good risk management. We didn't enter, impulse. We didn't enter with, heavy risk. We were keeping our, our emotions in check, entering only with 300, which is like 0.75 of a percentage of the account. And we were just, being, strategic. And of course, we need to journal this, review it, and learn from this mistake. And I already know what I did wrong. I know what I could have done better, of course, because simply, the trade idea was there. We could have simply won the trade. If not, we could have hit TP1 and then eventually hit break even after that and still counted it as a W for the day. We just need to I just need to work on building more sense of security with confirmation and then eventually scaling down off of that confirmation, finding the ideal entry off of the confirmation. But of course, everything else is really coming into place. Like the trade management, I'm working on it really well. And of course, like the analysis of getting to that trade idea. And then really the next thing really is just the emotional aspect of like when you miss a trade, like you want to get like your trade, you want to get your trade in, because like you feel like you need that trade because you missed the first one. So this is kind of what happened. And then not really flipping your bias after a loss because you think the market is originally like I should have stuck to that short bias instead of the long. So again, the higher time frame, not really being stuck on the lower time frame. The higher time frame was telling me bear, even though we are moving up now. It's going to change, of course. But yeah, short, in the moment, I was looking for shorts. I should have never switched it to longs, and I should have seen, maybe this was all a sweep. So eventually moved back down. But that's pretty much really it. I'm gonna go to the gym now, call it a day, and yeah, we're down on the account pretty heavy. It's like getting back into that rhythm, getting back into that flow. Have been watching the market, have been charting a lot more. So make sure you guys join the Discord. I deleted the Telegram because I knew I'm just not gonna be on Telegram using it. I'd rather be on Discord or Twitter. So make sure you follow me on one of those two, or X, whatever you want to call it. I'm gonna be on Discord a lot more charting, and then X, I'm gonna be posting like certain like scenarios that I'm watching for. Of course, it's not going to be every day. It's not going to be, I'm going to try to do every day. I'm going to try to post more consistently on those platforms, my analysis and all that. So that's basically really it for the trade idea here. And I didn't record, like live trade execution. I was just jamming out. And then, of course, doing other stuff. I was looking at the chart, but as soon as I entered the trade, I was like, all right, yeah, just let it go. Let's go do something else. And I did have alerts set too. I did have alerts just because I needed to manage the position. I had alerts on my phone, just because, I needed those alerts to go off, but they never went off. So